An item called a capacitor. Stereo guys know capacitors. You're using to filter things, but a capacitor is a storage. It's like a battery that holds a big jump in one thing. If you've ever touched a condenser that was hot, you know how much energy it can hold. That energy started as 12 volts going into that condenser. Okay, so resistance is usually measured in hundreds or thousands of ohms. This spring that I showed you where we got that resistance, we probably had maybe 1,000 or 2,000 ohms by the time we got to the end of the spring. So R times, what's yours have on it, John? R times 10, R times 100? R times, and then, so you got multiple resistance settings? Okay. For our purposes, you're not testing an electronic circuit. The ohms really don't matter, but what you're going to do is you're actually adding resistance to the circuit to get the meter to read. But you can just put it down on R times the lowest setting. It's funny, mine's not going to work, right? I love it. My battery's dead. And what you'll find is when you touch the two leads, no, I've got 5 of them in here. When you touch the two leads together, the meter's going to go all the way over. If you have a digital meter, the meter's going to go to 0. Because in a sense, what you're doing is you're just connecting one side to the other. That is continuity. 0 resistance is 100% continuity. So if you have an ordinary analog meter, you touch them together and the needle goes all the way over. When you go to test your circuit, the same way we did with this one with the light bulb in it, okay, your meter takes the place of the light bulb. If you touch at the beginning of the circuit and the end of the circuit and the needle goes all the way over, okay, then you know you have continuity. Your circuit is continuous from beginning to end. Look somewhere else. If you don't, by the way, I didn't even mention that, the idea of poking down the line is to find the break. They have, like the digital meter there, if you have a partial break in a wire, a digital meter will give you an amount of resistance, and if you know a physicist, he can actually tell you where on the wire, if you tell him to gauge the voltage and the current, he'll tell you where on the wire the break is. And if you know a guy that works for Bell Telephone, he'll stick a machine on there and tell you exactly how far down the wire the break is, because the computers can do that kind of stuff. What we've got to do is poke a hole in that insulation every once in a while until that light doesn't light anymore. You know, between the last poke and the current poke, you either found the break or you changed wires by accident. So, double check. Measure twice, cut once. Alright, so, the other settings on this meter, by the way, the reason I didn't mention that I go with an $11 Radio Shack meter is because if I forget to change the settings on this and I plug 220 into it when I've got it set on DC and it blows up, I just lost 11 bucks. If I use the, my really expensive current reading amp probe here that cost my company $225 to do exactly what my $11 meter does, except I forget on this one, I just toasted a $220 meter. So, they do the same. This ring, nice. If you've got a meter with this ring on it and ever wondered what it does, clamp it around to your starter lead or a jumper cable, turn it on, set it on amps, and start the car and watch what happens. This ring, current traveling through a wire is a magnetic field. Okay? So this ring goes around your wire. And as the current runs down that wire, as the power runs down that wire, it disturbs the magnetic field. And the meter is designed to read that. So this is the reason this meter is made by a brand called Amprobe is because that company started as a way to measure amperage or current draw. And you can take this and put it on your starter, which draws, I guess, what, 50 amps. start the car, and it's going to read that current balance there. So these are handy if you're trying to design electric seats or stereo circuits. Here's a nice little $19 Radio Shack one that fits in your pocket. It's got a hard cover on it so you don't crush it. It's digital. Alright, it's crap, but you know what? It reads 0 when you touch the two leads together, which is all it really needs, 0 and 13.8. So it does a good job. I wouldn't want my mother's breathing equipment tested with it, but for your car it's great. And like I said, it's in a hard case. You can throw it in the toolbox and nothing's going to happen to it. I think I've talked enough. Do you guys have any questions about what we've talked about? I got a couple of goodies I can show you. Yeah, Jay.
All right, welcome to Timbers here. It is our Monday night karaoke.
When I bring out the really cool test equipment, I have an electric personality. I'm trying to just draw it out of here. Let me show you this. I saw Harper, by the way, my company paid $290 for this thing. I do everything that they need done, and they have no problem buying any toy to do the job. This one up here is the coolest thing in the world. Your phone guy has one, plugs into a jack or hooks up to the wall jack. And what he does is he turns this thing on and leaves it on the jack. Then he goes down into your basement with this probe, push the button. When the probe gets close, okay, it's sending a tone down the wire. Now I want to show you something neat. If I go here and flip this lead to this ground here, I can go anywhere on the circuit, and until I come to another, whoops, these two halves out. Sorry about that. The cool thing about this is you can follow a wire down the line. But so anywhere you go along the circuit, the closer you get to that lead, and you can nail it down to the wire that it's traveling through. And yeah, I did a lot of telephone work for the company, but now every time I need to find a wire, this is the way that I go. Harbor Freight has these things for like 19 bucks. Harbor Freight has this for, I think, $1.19. It doesn't look like much. However, if you put it up next to an electric circuit, you notice that light comes in and goes out. We already talked about a magnetic field. All electric wire has a magnetic field. If the power's on, that's going to light. So if you get on the basement, turn off the breaker, and come over here, and you go, uh-oh, wait a minute. Is this cord hot? Yes, it is. All right, if I unplug the cord, which I can do here, test it again, it's not going to light anymore. There's no more juice flowing through it. A pop at a heart. By the way, that right there, those two little metal tabs, that's a continuity tester. You know the little push-in bayonet bulbs? You can test those on there. It's actually designed for testing Christmas lights. You just plug them in there and let you know whether it works or not. There's another version of it in here for $1. Greenlee will sell you one for $79 that beeps when you put it next to it. Got to solder something under the dashboard of the car. Harbor Freight has a version of this one. This is a snap-on. But this guy's propane-powered soldering iron. Okay, you don't need to run wires out to the car or anything. Pop this thing off, push back on it, and it lights. So you turn the propane on. That's it. It's thick. Take about a minute to heat up. You can solder the wire and turn it off. This is a really expensive one, but you can buy, relatively cheap versions of it. I told some of the guys here, the companies that I've worked for have had generous tool programs in the past. So they allowed us to make purchases of up to $600 at a time, deducted without interest or finance charges. So my whole career, I've been blessed with the ability to buy stuff that I didn't need for work and deduct it on my taxes. Anyway, what else? I got a whole box of junk. Here's a neat one for you. I know you guys have worked in electrical panels, things like that. You got to drill a round hole